Hello, and a huge warm welcome to you, our listener. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We are honestly just absolutely thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, really excited for this one. It's going to be fun.
So to start us off, I want you to imagine a quiet, leafy, modestly sized city in Germany. Just, picture that.
Very picturesque.
Exactly. But now, imagine that same quiet city is hiding this massive, 300-year-old, gravity-defying engineering marvel. And on top of that, the world's most massive modern art exhibition. Oh, and also a vault containing the really dark, gritty origins of your favorite childhood bedtime stories.
It's quite the combination.
It really is.
Yeah.
Welcome to Kassel. We're going to dive right into this today.
Yeah, because Kassel is, it's a place that quietly defies every expectation you might have of a typical European destination. I mean, it's not a sprawling metropolis, right?
No, not at all.
Yet it houses monuments and these huge cultural movements that have literally shaped modern history. It's wild.
And we're going to figure out how one city basically balances all these wildly different identities. So our mission for this deep dive is that by the end of our conversation, you will understand exactly why Kassel is the ultimate destination for anyone looking for profound cultural and historical aha moments.
And completely free from those overwhelming elbow-to-elbow crowds you usually find at the major tourist hubs.
Right, which is the dream, honestly. So where do we start? We've got sources ranging from local guides to the 2026 Cultural Summer Festival details to encyclopedias.
Well, to truly grasp the culture of Kassel, I think we have to start with the physical environment itself.
Makes sense. Set the scene.
Exactly. So Kassel is located in what's often called the green heart of Germany.
Yeah.
But the way the city interacts with that natural landscape it's entirely unique, which brings us to Bergpark Wilhelmshöhe.
Okay, yes. Because the scale of this place, just reading about it, it's staggering. It spans 2.4 square kilometers across the mountainside.
Which is massive.
It's huge, massive enough to have earned it a UNESCO World Heritage designation back in 2013. But it isn't just like an expansive forest, right?
No, not at all. It is a landscape that has been aggressively theatricalized. Construction started way back in 1696.
Wow.
Yeah, under the landgraves and electors of Hesse-Kassel, and they just continued shaping this mountain for a century and a half. They were essentially treating the raw geography as a blank canvas.
Like, we own this mountain, let's decorate it.
Pretty much, and the absolute masterpiece of that canvas is the water features.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the engineering behind these water features it's just baffling to me.
Oh, it's incredible.
So at the very peak of the mountain sits this towering statue of Hercules. And from there, water cascades all the way down through these elaborate stone channels, over waterfalls and across aqueducts. It acts like a massive 300-year-old gravity-powered Rube Goldberg machine.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. It really is like a landscape-scale kinetic sculpture. But the most staggering aspect, the thing that really blows my mind, is that this entire hydropneumatic system operates completely without pumps.
Which is insane.
Right. Not a single electrical or mechanical pump is used today, just as none were used 300 years ago.
Which makes no sense initially. I mean, if you look at modern water parks or even just big municipal fountains, they require massive industrial pump room.
Oh, yeah. Huge amounts of energy.
Just to achieve a fraction of the pressure Kassel has. So how are they getting a geyser to erupt 50 meters into the air at the bottom of the hill using just gravity?
Well, it all comes down to their really meticulous mastery of physics. They constructed these vast underground reservoirs up at the top of the mountain to collect natural rainwater and snowmelt.
Okay.
And then when the valves are manually opened, gravity pulls that enormous volume of water down through a network of subterranean pipes. And here's the trick. As the water travels down the elevation, the pipes intentionally narrow.
So they're forcing this massive accelerating volume of water into a progressively tighter space.
Precisely. The sheer weight of the water dropping down the mountain builds up immense pressure within those narrowing pipes. So by the time it reaches the great fountain down at the bottom of the park,
that confined pressure has only one place to go.
Straight up. It culminates in this spectacular geyser-like eruption, driven entirely by 18th century fluid dynamics.
That level of calculation, done centuries before computers even existed, is just wild to me.
It really is an engineering marvel.
But, the park isn't solely defined by water, because if you wander through all this greenery, you encounter the Lowenburg.
Oh, yes, the Lowenburg.
Which, it looks like a rugged, battle-scarred medieval fortress, complete with the defensive towers and the crumbling ruins. except it's a complete fabrication.
Completely fake.
Right. They built a fake medieval castle in the late 1700s.
Wait, so wasn't that just essentially an 18th century theme park? See, what's fascinating here is that to our modern sensibilities, building a fake ruin absolutely sounds like a theme park attraction. Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly.
The Lowenburg was actually a profound architectural and philosophical statement at the time. It's actually considered one of the very first neo-Gothic buildings in Germany.
Which means it was like a deliberate rejection of the prevailing style of the time, right? The Enlightenment.
Exactly. The late 18th century was the height of the Enlightenment. So architecture was all about clean, rational lines, symmetry, logic.
Very ordered.
Right. But the Lowenburg was a product of the emerging Romantic era. The creators, they weren't interested in cold logic. They had an intense obsession with emotion, chivalry, and this sort of idealized vision of the past.
So they intentionally designed it to look like a brooding, shadowy relic.
Exactly, to evoke a very specific psychological atmosphere.
So they were basically building physical, inhabitable fan fiction of the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
They just wanted to wander through an environment that made them feel connected to an ancient, mythical German heritage.
That's a great way to put it. And that captures a broader theme about Kassel as a whole. Whether it is a gravity-defying water system or a carefully constructed romantic ruin, this is a place that masters the intersection of raw nature and extreme human ingenuity.
They didn't just adapt to the mountain.
No, they commanded it to perform for them.
And you can actually see that ingenuity extending directly into how residents navigate that same topography today, right? With the transit system.
Oh, the Regiotram, yes.
Yeah, it's this highly innovative hybrid vehicle that solves a major logistical problem for them.
It really does. It bridges the gap between the dense urban center of Kassel and the sprawling, hilly countryside around it.
Because the Regiotram acts as a nimble city streetcar first.
Right.
Navigating the tight urban corners, picking up commuters.
Right, acting just like a normal tram.
But then, without anyone having to change seats or transfer to a different line, it seamlessly shifts gears and connects directly onto the heavy railway tracks.
And just becomes a high-speed regional train. It effectively shrinks the geography, connecting that green heart to the urban core completely effortlessly.
It's brilliant. So we see this incredible centuries-long effort to tame and organize the physical landscape of the region. But around the same time, they were building those neo-Gothic castles to capture the mythic German past right down in the city streets. There was a completely different attempt to capture the wildness of Germany.
Yes.
Not its water or its mountains, but its words. And that brings us to the Brothers Grimm.
Jakob and Wilhelm Grimm, they lived and worked in Kassel for roughly 30 years, and I have to say, their legacy is completely misunderstood by mainstream culture today.
Oh, absolutely. Because the moment you hear Brothers Grimm, your brain instantly jumps to Disney movies.
Okay.
Snow White, Cinderella, the talking animals.
Of course.
We picture them as these cozy, grandfatherly figures sitting by a fire, inventing bedtime stories for kids.
And the GRIMMWELT Adventure Space in Kassel, which is this fantastic museum dedicated to them, it exists to completely shatter that illusion.
They were not fairy tale uncles.
Not at all. They were rigorous, groundbreaking linguists. They are widely regarded as the co-founders of modern German studies. The fairy tales were essentially just a byproduct of their real mission.
And the exhibition at GRIMMWELT is structured so brilliantly to emphasize exactly that. Instead of walking through a standard, chronological timeline of when they were born and died, the space is conceptual.
It's organized by the letters of the alphabet, though not in traditional order.
Right. And the very first section you enter is under the letter Z.
Z for Zettel, which translates to bits of paper or slips of paper.
Which highlights the sheer mechanical, physical reality of their work. Because long before databases or hard drives or even typewriters, their monumental collections of language were managed entirely on tiny, movable pieces of paper.
You really have to picture their study. Every single time they uncovered an obscure regional word for a farming tool, or maybe documented a strange insult from an old medieval manuscript.
They wrote it down on a zettel.
Exactly. And they accumulated hundreds of thousands of these slips. It was a massive physical undertaking of basically analog data processing.
Which was necessary for their most ambitious and arguably most punishing project. Which wasn't the folktales.
No, it was Borch's Wörterbuch.
The comprehensive dictionary of the German language. Jacob signed a contract in 1838 to write this dictionary. And the original projection, which is hilarious in hindsight, was that it would take them 7 years to complete.
7 years to catalog the entire historical and contemporary usage of the German language. I mean, it was a wildly optimistic timeline.
Just a bit. It ended up taking over 180 years to finish.
It became this sprawling, cross-generational monolith of a project.
And there is this incredibly poignant detail regarding Jacob Grimm in the sources. He worked on this dictionary until his dying breath, basically. And his very final edited entry before he passed away was for the word Frau Teufel, which means demon.
It is remarkably poetic, isn't it? He wrestled with this literal demon of a project right up until the end. But, you know, the reason it took over a century to finish wasn't just because it was a big dictionary. It was due to their methodology.
They were incredibly thorough.
The Grimms didn't just want to document polite, high society vocabulary. They believed a dictionary should reflect the entirety of human expression.
And here's where it gets really interesting. That exhaustive approach is perfectly illustrated by the Erschlein exhibit at GRIMMWELT.
Ah, yes, the swear words.
Yeah, they have an actual swearing funnel on display because the Grimms meticulously documented the lowest, coarsest barroom insults and offensive slang of their era.
They did not censor the language to fit some artificial moral standard.
Exactly. If a word was used by the people, it earned a zettel and it went into the dictionary.
Because to Jakob and Wilhelm, language was not some static, pristine artifact to be protected in a glass museum display. It was a living, breathing, evolving organism. So by elevating swear words to the same level of academic scrutiny as, say, classic poetry, they were proving that the low culture of the taverns was just as vital to the national identity as the high culture of the royal courts. They were mapping the complete human experience.
That concept of mapping the human experience directly explains the cultural power of their fairy tales, too.
Absolutely.
Their personal working copies of those tales, filled with all their handwritten scribbles and edits, are actually preserved in Kassel as part of the UNESCO World Heritage. But the historical context surrounding these stories is what's really fascinating.
Because it wasn't just entertainment.
Right. When these tales were published, they were a relatively new literary genre, arriving right on the threshold of modernity. And the sources mention that for some people, these books of folk tales actually began to replace the cultural role of the Bible.
Which is a huge shift.
It's massive.
Yeah.
How does a collection of stories about talking frogs and witches achieve that kind of psychological dominance?
Well, to understand that, you really have to look at the massive societal shift happening in the early 19th century.
Industrialization.
Yes, society was rapidly modernizing. Industrialization was taking hold, completely upending centuries of agrarian life. People were leaving their traditional villages and moving into these growing cities.
And in that transition, old social structures and shared religious understandings were fracturing.
A massive cultural void was opening up.
People were losing their shared moral frameworks.
Precisely. And the fairy tales provided these modernizing, displaced people with a new, common store of symbols and morality. They weren't just whimsical stories for children, they were brutal, cautionary tales.
Yeah, they get really dark.
Very dark. Because they acted as psychological mirrors, dealing with universal human anxieties, fear of starvation, abandonment by parents, the threat of predators out in the woods, and ultimately the triumph of the underdog.
So the Grimm's true genius wasn't in their imagination. I mean, they didn't sit down and invent Cinderella or Snow White from scratch.
No, their genius was in crowdsourcing the human psyche. They collected these narratives from middle-class storytellers, from farmers, from traveling merchants.
They just listened.
They cataloged human fears and desires from, magical hedges of thorns down to the muddiest realities of life. They were preserving a shared identity just as it was threatening to disappear into the industrial age.